From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, fill out a Sightlines report, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and soon much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by Mighty Moose Beard Oil Company. It's 100% Canadian, 100% natural, taking care of beards around the world. Visit MightyMooseBeard.com. Don't forget to use promo code SOR2019 today. We're getting all ghostly tonight, as Miranda Young has always been interested in the paranormal for as long as she can remember. This passion for the paranormal led Miranda to join the Paranormal Research Ghost Investigations back in 2013, where she has been an active member since. Eventually, she decided that she wanted to do a little bit of her own thing, too, and what a cool way to do it. Hops on her Harley, and she is known as the Ghost Biker Babe with Ghost Biker Explorations. Miranda is out on her bike taking photos every chance she has, doing a little investigating along the way, and she's drummed up a little bit of interest in the public as well because of what she does. Hey, black leather and ghosts go good together. Let's just face it. It looks good. It's a great look when you got a Harley there as well. Miranda, through this project, has discovered that every little town has a ghost story in which their citizens have heard all their lives, or it has an abandoned location that they drive by every day and wonder what went on behind the walls. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I am going to bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Miranda Young, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. This sounds so much fun. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate you taking the time. Let's go back a little bit, learn a little bit about you for our audience. What got you into the paranormal?
Well, like you said, I started out a long time ago when I was a kid. I really cut my teeth on the paranormal, listening to my grandmother tell stories about growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm from down south in Tennessee, and I would often spend my evenings and weekends down there listening to her talk about different haunts up in the mountains, as well as folklore and old wives' tales. So that got me very interested in it. And, I would spend every chance I got reading old folklore stories and out exploring different locations. And then back in 2013, I joined a team and investigated with them for just under a decade. And then about a little over a year ago, I started going solo and started Ghost Biker Explorations.
Did you grow up in a haunted house or anything paranormal as a kid, or was this something that your curiosity helped you fall into?
You know, my curiosity helped me fall into it. I didn't grow up in a haunted house, but my elementary school that I went to was supposedly haunted. Back in the 1920s, the old part of the school was used as a theater, and so I believe it was back in 1928 there was a shooting that occurred up in the theater. It was between a doctor and a deputy, and the doctor had this real boisterous laugh, and the deputy had told him to hush. Apparently the movie was a comedy, and so they got into a big argument, and the deputy ended up shooting the doctor. And so every person that ever went through that schoolhouse knew that story of the doctor who had been shot. And so it was always rumored that there was paranormal activity in there. And we had this amazing librarian who every year at Halloween, she would share that story. And so it was rumored you could hear phantom laughing, phantom gunshots, and a phantom movie playing as well. So yeah, that was probably where I got my first interest in it, my first taste.
Very nice. Very nice. And you know, it's always that compelling experience that you have that really makes you fall in love with it, needing to know more, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then just the history behind it is really what drives me. Is, you know, the paranormal activity is great, but, you know, there's always that story behind it that's intriguing, that, you know, makes you wonder why what's going on is actually happening. And so, you know, that makes me want to look deeper into it. And then the story and the investigation always seems to follow.
I agree with you on that. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes the paranormal or the weird and strange just happens everywhere. I'm going to tell our listeners this because I just got back yesterday from Toronto, Ontario, where I spoke at Alien Cosmic Expo. And I had the most scary thing happen to me. Like, I panicked. I brought my computer, which had my speech on it and my PowerPoint presentation, and I had everything on a USB stick. So instead of hauling my big-ass computer down, you know, because I still got an antiquated laptop, I refuse to call them notebooks because I think it's an insult to books. So, and yeah, and that's the truth. So I packed in my little stick, my little USB stick, put it at the front of my suitcase. I got a little pouch there. And when I got to my hotel room, it was gone. Could not find it. And I'm like, oh no, my USB stick is gone. And I'm talking to my buddy Everett on the phone. I'm like, dude, it is gone. I ripped apart every part of my suitcase. Could not find it. Okay. And a lot of times when I travel, I'll stuff, you know, like socks or whatever in my shoes. So I'm checking all my shoes. I got 3 pairs of shoes in there and nothing. Cannot find this thing. Now, thankfully, I had my computer, so I could quickly re-download it on someone else's USB stick and make it work. So get this. After ransacking my hotel room looking for this, figure, oh, well, maybe I left it at home. Maybe it fell out or something like that. I go to put all my stuff back in my suitcase to get ready to catch my flight back home to Vancouver yesterday. And I lift up my one pair of shoes and my USB stick falls out of it. It was not there 2 days previous in those pair of shoes.
Wow.
I'm like, can you believe this? Scared the daylights out of me. Like, what the hell? And I'm thinking, okay, did somebody come in my room and, you know, do I even use this USB stick anymore? Like, I really don't know. Like, I'm freaked out about it because, you know, like, I like watches, and I carried my watches with me, and they were fine. They were fine, but my USB stick was gone. I don't know if my room was haunted and it just disappeared, a ghost playing a trick and then saying, oh, well, we got you. You figured it out. Here's enough. I don't know. I really don't know. It scared me.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the hotel where you were staying?
Well, I know it's Airport Marriott over by the Toronto Pearson Airport, but I don't know the age of it. I mean, looking at the carpet, it looks old. You know, but it was a nice place, though. Just weird. Absolutely weird.
Yeah, see, that's weird, because when it's somewhere like that in your shoe, you know it's not been there the whole time. So, wow, that's almost, that's disturbing almost.
Yeah. I love it when stuff like that happens, but it bugs me, too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, come on. This is not the time for jokes, ghosts. Not the time. Old Davy needs to get up on stage.
Well, that's the worst time and probably the scariest of experiences because it could have really affected you.
Well, in our one chat room, Renee says, now, Dave, you know you're haunted. That's your with an R-E, Renee, not Y-O-U-R. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. Yeah, I'm red penning you on the air, Renee. There we go. Anyways, yeah, it was a strange event, but it was cool because I love it when strange things like that happen. And
Yes.
I think what we have to do, for those of us who have experience, especially hauntings or something like that, I think we got to appreciate them a little bit more. Don't you think, Miranda? Because they just don't happen very often. I
agree. And, one of the things that I often think about is that, people talk about how, they don't, a lot of experiences don't happen very often. But, I think a lot of the time we're just so busy and really not listening and not paying attention. I think a lot of stuff happens a lot more often than a lot of people realize, just because we are in such a fast-paced and noisy environment. And I think that a lot of the time, if people would just pay attention to things like what you just mentioned, or actually take the time to listen, I think we might experience a lot more than what we realize.
How often do you have hauntings around you?
It depends. I have had some stuff follow me home from different, one investigation in particular. I have security cameras set up in my house, and there was over the course of about a month and a half, I had some activity going on. And then I've had just some strange things happen, like when I'll be sitting there at work. It's not a daily occurrence, but I at least have something happen around me, at least seems like once every couple months.
Tell us something strange that's happened to you recently.
Recently? Well, like I said, stuff likes to mess with my dog, and I have Stephen King books on a bottom shelf, and what people I've got to realize, my dog is she's 16 and a half, and she's a small 15-pound dachshund, so she gets into a lot, but she's pretty small. And I usually come home at lunchtime from my day job and let her out. And so I came home one day, and I had noticed one of my books on that bottom shelf had been pulled out. And it just so happened that it was, of all the Stephen King books, that it was Cujo. Oh. And so I went back and reviewed my security camera footage, because nothing else was disturbed. None of the other books looked like they had even really been touched. And so, and this book, when it's standing up on its end, it was a hardback with the paper dust jacket. And so the book is about as tall as her when it's standing up. And so I went back and reviewed my footage, and you see her pacing around back and forth, and she just goes straight over to that book, takes her little paw, kind of paws it a little bit, and pulls it out. And she had teared the front cover, just split it right down the middle, or the cover of the dust jacket, and nothing else had been disturbed. It was like she goes over to it, she looks back at the camera, and pulls it out. It was the strangest thing.
My goodness. Goodness. Yeah, nothing little Cujo
not saying
like
it's
that,
paranormal. Right? Yeah, exactly. Not necessarily saying it's paranormal or anything, but whatever is in there does definitely like to mess with her. And I just thought that was pretty crazy that that was the book that she chose to pull out. Like she was trying to send me a message about not being happy with me being gone.
Wow. Listen to the dog. Listen to the dog. I think it's telling you something, that it may go Cujo on your ankles one of these days.
Exactly. Sleep with one eye open, Mom.
I totally understand that. We are talking with Miranda Young, the ghost biker, today. I'm going to ask you, how did you come up with the ghost biker theme?
I've been a motorcycle rider for since 2010. I've always had a passion for motorcycles, but my folks never would let me ride. And so when I got the opportunity, I learned to ride and got a bike. And so every opportunity that I wasn't at work or wasn't investigating with the team, I would be out on my motorcycle. And so I would either be investigating locations or taking photographs. And so I started posting those pictures on the internet, on all my social media sites. And usually the places that I would take pictures of were either places that were abandoned, like doing, urban exploration, as well as ones that maybe just had a really interesting historical background. And people would often ask me, what are the stories of these pictures that you're putting up there? And so I started, telling people a little bit of history about them. And like I said, I was always usually on my motorcycle when I would be going to these places. And so I was kind of joking with a friend about, I was about to go investigate with the team and was going to ride my motorcycle to that investigation. And so I told her, I was like, what's more fun than being on that motorcycle, where you've got that alone time and time to get centered and really kind of plan out the investigation. So what's much better than riding your bike to an investigation? I said, just call me Ghost Rider. And so we were kind of laughing about that. And she's like, if you did a show, she's like, I would watch that. And so we were kind of kicking that back and forth and really just sort of kicking some ideas. And I happened to say something to my friend Josh. I kept it a secret from everybody except for just a couple people. I said something to my friend Josh, and he was like, you really should document this with video rather than just taking pictures of your travels. And so we, went back and forth and expanded on the idea a little bit more. And that's really how Ghost Biker Explorations was born. I got to thinking I was originally going to call it Ghost Rider Explorations. And, with the Nicolas Cage movie coming out and everything, I wanted to be number one on that search engine. So I thought, I'm going to change that up a little bit. And came up with Ghost Biker Explorations and went and got the name trademarked and designed a logo and really planned out how I wanted the shows to be as far as the length and how I wanted to actually have episodes and have all of those done and put those out there. And like I said, I kept it a secret from March until mid-September when I decided to release the news and start promoting it. And that's, in a nutshell, really how that got started.
Seems like you're going to get a lot of traction with this because it is a catchy name. And even looking on our Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio, there is the Ghost Rider, memes that are out there. Do you have a burning head when you're driving along? Did you light your head on fire? Let's be honest.
I did consider that, because nothing gets more attention than a flaming head. But no, I decided I would just, let my investigation and artwork and all that kind of do the talking. And no, I decided I wanted to try to disassociate myself as much as I could, because people will call it Ghost Rider when they're searching for it. Yeah, I wanted to do something enough that would still be catchy, but also still set me apart.
So what you're saying is you're disappointing us by saying there is no burning helmet that you were wearing while you're riding.
Not this season. Oh. We might, to get ratings, you never know. We may try that next time.
What kind of bike are you riding?
I ride a 883 Iron Harley Davidson.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. I'm a huge Harley fan.
I am too. My first bike was a Vulcan 750, a Kawasaki. And that was a fun one, but that was a challenging one. It was a good one to learn on. But I had always been in love with the Sportster. I had a little toy Sportster when I was a kid. And I just loved that vintage old peanut tank look. And so when I found my bike, I fell in love with it's the flat matte black, and everything on it is black, just very little chrome. And it's kind of a throwback look to the late 60s.
Very cool. So what's your gear? What's your get up when you're going on one of your paranormal investigations as the ghost biker?
Sure. I have to keep it very simple since I am on the bike. And my bike's a pretty stripped down version. I've got a little side bag on it and the fork bag. But I actually, I have this little, it's like a little military go bag that I'm able to keep. I keep I carry my dowsing rods. So I like to keep it old school. So I carry dowsing rods. I have, about 5 recorders that I keep in there, flashlights, a REM pod, a spirit box, as well as a little EDI box. Anything extra, I will, if it's going to be a really big location, I will have my cameraman and co-producer, Josh, will bring that along. But usually I try to stick with the smaller, non-commercial, non-overly investigated areas. And so I don't always carry as much, but I do have a ton of equipment just in case I'm hitting a really large location.
So for people, as we got about 90 seconds to go here before we go to break, for people who want to find your videos that you're making, where can they see them?
They can see them in multiple places. Ghost Biker Explorations on Facebook is where I'm the most active because I can really, keep in contact with everybody. Ghost Biker Explorations on YouTube and www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. They can see them in all 3 of those locations.
So basically, one thing I like about what you're doing here is you have kind of found your own little niche that nobody else is doing in the paranormal. That's difficult to do in today's day and age.
It really is. And, I don't watch a whole lot of paranormal entertainment shows on television, which I think has really kind of helped us to be different. But I do follow quite a few of my friends who are in the paranormal community and do a lot of collaborations. But I think that's sort of helped to set us apart from what a lot of others are doing.
And it's that difference. Do you think that's going to make a little bit of a difference, or is it all about the entertainment?
I think if you have, for me, it's about the history and about the science behind it. But I feel like if you're going to have something that you want to put out there to keep people's attention, I do think you do have to have an entertainment element to it but my hope is when I'm telling the story, that the stories will be interesting enough to carry the episodes, even if there's not any paranormal activity.
Miranda Young is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, the Ghost Biker. We're going to learn more about how she investigates right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Thiemer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturday starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters in the frozen Canadian tundra that we call Canada. How are all of you tonight? Thank you so much for joining us. We are talking the ghost biker, Miranda Young, out of Tennessee, hanging on out, riding her Harley all over the United States, trying to find the weird, the strange legends and lore. We're going to get into that right now. Miranda, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. Glad to be here.
Not a problem. Now, as the ghost biker, you got a reputation that you're building for yourself here. Pretty darn quick. What do you like to investigate?
Just about anything. If somebody has a strange or interesting story or a bit of history to share, that's what I like to investigate. I've often said that I challenge people to close their eyes, put a map in front of them, and touch that map anywhere on there. And that small town, I can guarantee that anywhere that they touch is probably going to have one, if not several, old, really cool stories or legends about that location. And they may be small, but they may also be internationally known. And so that's what I like to cover. I like to hear the stories that sometimes aren't even written down. They're just passed down from the older generation, or maybe they're covered in some of the, library books of just the stories of that region, or even just, like you said in the intro, the abandoned locations that people have driven. Everyone's seen that building or that old factory or just odd building that they didn't know what went on in there while it was in operation. So those are the things that I like to check out and the stories I like to tell.
Mm-hmm. Are the personal experiences high on the list?
They can be, yeah. That's. Are you talking about from like personal experiences that people tell me, or personal experiences that I've had?
The people tell you.
Yeah, those are actually, I encourage people to go onto my website or go onto Facebook and send me messages about personal experiences. It may be a private residence. It may be something that they've encountered. I even get that at work during my day job. People will come in and tell me about different things that they've experienced. So if there's a cool and interesting story about it, then I'll go and check it out.
All right. So what kind of stories do you like to cover? What kind of ghosts? Are you more into the residential type? Are you more into the business type, or the legends of the community that may go unheard of?
A little bit of both. I definitely love the legends of the community. A good example of this is the first episode that I did. If people haven't seen it, it's season 1, episode 1, The Bleeding Mausoleum, and it takes place in Cleveland, Tennessee, and it's the tragic story of the Cragmiles family. And what was really cool about this is the fact that there were people who had lived in Cleveland all of their life that had come up to me after we had released the episode and said, I'd always heard about this mausoleum, I worked beside it or past it every day, and I never knew the whole story, and you can't tell the story about Nina Cragmiles without telling the tragic story of her entire family. And so that was a really cool thing. It's one of those things where it was just kind of obvious and there, but no one really knew the whole story behind it. They did do, there's several books on it, as well as they do a ghost walk around Halloween, and they talk about it. But it's just always been a fixture in the Cleveland community. So those sort of stories are ones that I like to cover. But then I also really enjoy the residential homes because I feel like it really gives me the opportunity to flex my creative muscle when it comes to dealing with that. You know, I can sit and I can research in the archives the story about the Bleeding Mausoleum and about the family, but when it comes to the homes, I really have to go in and I'll do a preliminary interview with the family at the home and find out, you know, what kind of personal experiences, what's been going on, and then I'll go in and really start researching. So with those, unless it's a well-known home in the community that's historic, you may not necessarily know unless you start digging really deep.
Well, and that's the trouble is a lot of people are afraid to give that out. So how do you build the confidence with people, whether you're going into their home or their place of work?
Well, like I said, I will do a preliminary interview, and there's certain questions and certain things I'll ask. You know, and I'll also tell them when somebody approaches me and they want, you know, they tell me they've had activity. A lot of the time, it's just to sort of confirm that they're not crazy, I guess. And I would classify myself as a skeptical believer. I definitely believe, and I've seen a lot of things. But when I go in, I don't necessarily go into a location thinking that it's actually haunted. You know, a lot of the time, I think there are a lot of things that can be explained. So I tell them that, and then I also tell them, if you want me to do a deep investigation on this, you know, if we get through the preliminary interview and determine that it's time to do an investigation, I say, you know, now you're the one that has to sleep here, you know, so we could very easily find things that might make you uneasy. And so that's always just sort of my disclaimer beforehand that if there is, I mean, there may not be anything, but there could be something, and just to be aware that if we go into, we could uncover some things that just might make it hard to sleep at night. And so I will provide them with the evidence. And a lot of the time, I won't do an episode on their home unless it's something, like I said, unless it's a historical fixture in the community, or unless it's something that the family says, hey, it's okay to show this. One of the, I did a home in my season 1, and it ended up monopolizing a lot of the season, more so than I had anticipated. But it was one of those where the family, you know, gave me the go ahead on it. And it really turned into a kind of a gold mine, because it was just full of activity and ended up taking up a couple episodes of the season. So I try to, I hope that I don't want to call it necessarily a portfolio or a resume, but I hope that, you know, when I go in and listen and talk to the family, that it's something that they can look back on different things that I've done and see, you know, that, and like I said, I think the fact that I don't claim that every little thing that happens is paranormal, I think that actually helps to build that trust.
You're being way too skeptical for this show. Way too skeptical.
Well, I've seen a lot of things. I mean, I just tend to go in with, you know, my background being in photography. I started with debunking photos for the team. That was actually how I got started on the team. Was the guy who led the team and co-founded. He saw that I had a background in photography, and so he approached me to look at some different images. And he was really wanting me to come in and see, you know, if a lot of them were images from investigations that they had taken, and others were from ones that people had sent into the team. So that was really how I started on the team, was by looking at, you know, a picture here and there, and then it turned into probably 20 or 30 pictures, and then going on investigations right after that, and then having a lot of luck on the investigation. So I get a lot of activity usually when I go to places. I've been very fortunate in that respect, but I do go in with, when I read these stories or when somebody approaches me, I go in with, okay, there could very easily be some type of logical explanation. Sometimes there's not, but yeah, I guess I probably am a little more skeptical.
What do you try and solve? Because I'll be honest with you, I asked this question to a lot of paranormal investigators, and it's amazing how many people cannot answer that. What are you trying to solve? What mystery is there that you were trying to defeat?
Well, I would have to say, and this may not be the right answer to your question, but my purpose really in all this is getting the history out there and telling the story. Whether it be just a legend or whether it be actually a historical fact of what's happened, is really spreading that word and preserving the history. The paranormal always for me, has always come secondary. And then really trying to see, if we can contact those folks that are involved in that story, or really even to get the rest of that story out, because I have gone on investigations. It's been really cool and also challenging, but it's been really neat when you go and you do all this research, because I spend a lot of time in the archives and a lot of time talking to people and a lot of time researching these different stories that I'm trying to tell. And what's crazy is whenever you spend all this time doing this and then you go into a location and you start asking questions and you get things that are like different answers to the history that you thought you knew or that was out there. So really just trying to get the story out is what I'm hoping to get out there from what I'm doing.
What about trying to solve the mystery of life after death?
Well, I feel like from things I've seen, I feel like there definitely is life after death. When I put my evidence out there, I don't go and really try to convince anyone. I just try to put it out there and let them decide for themselves. But I feel like, if I can get more information, and I feel like some of the evidence that we're finding are things that people can use to further that, that belief that there is life after death. But I feel like, though, too, this is something that, and this I don't know, may sound kind of negative, but I don't feel like anybody is really going to find the Holy Grail in this. That it's something that's going to be, we're going to continually be searching and investigating, and really just trying to further the knowledge base to try to get to that point. But I think it's going to be hard for people for teams and such to actually find the Holy Grail. Because how can you really define that? What the Holy Grail of the paranormal is, I guess.
Well, I guess that would be proving life after death, would it not?
It could, yeah. And it also depends on your theory. Because some people think that what we're talking to may be from another dimension and not necessarily the dead. Now I do believe that it's the dead or that it's energy, but I've heard different theories from other investigators out there that that it's many things. And one of them I have heard was, I guess, interdimensional or time travel. If you subscribe to that.
That's getting a little bit more woo. That's what we like around here. Miranda Young is our guest tonight. She is known as the Ghost Biker, paranormal investigator. So when you are out, are you doing your investigations alone, or do you have a team behind you as the Ghost Biker?
Most of the time, I am either alone or with my camera guy, Josh. Every now and then, I will do collaborations. I've collaborated with a couple different teams. But as far as my episodes, and the majority of the time, it is either just myself or it is myself and Josh.
So when you go into it, I guess that must provide a little bit more comfort for people you're dealing with, if that's the case, because there isn't a giant team coming in.
Yes. I have found that I've actually had more luck whenever it was just myself rather than investigating with a full team. I mean, it creates, I think there are a lot of advantages to that, but then I also think that there are challenges as well. One of the things whenever I started because again, even when I was with the team, I was often investigating and exploring alone. But one of the things that I found that did create a challenge is the fact that, when you have a team with you, you can kind of riff off each other. But when it's just myself, it often feels like sometimes, because, you don't always hear the stuff. I'll use my headphones, and sometimes we'll be able to hear voices and stuff that my recorder's putting out. But other times it seems like you're just kind of sitting there, talking to thin air. So that is one of the challenges, but I have found that when I'm dealing with residential, when it's smaller, I seem to get better results from the homeowner or whoever I'm investigating for.
Take us through your style. What happens after you meet? You go through your pre-interview process with the guest. What happens?
Well, I definitely have that pre-interview process because there are certain questions and stuff I'll ask that will help determine how I'm going to investigate. But for the most part, I'm pretty old school when it comes to investigating. I feel that as for myself and for most investigators, I think that the best tool that an investigator has is themselves and their feelings and listening and that sort of thing. But what I'll do is I'll take the call or take the email, and then I'll do a preliminary where I will go in and I'll have that interview process, and then I will try to, if I'm doing a residential, I'll check the house to see, I'll first do research on the house as to whether if it's a historical home, what was on the land, any type of geological features that might be prevalent to the area. And then I'll go in and I like to see, check certain things like the wiring, if there's any type of drafts, if there are, just especially if it's an older home, get base readings as far as with the EMF and everything like that. And then I'll go in with my rods and really sort of do just a small sort of preliminary investigation when I'm in there. And there's a lot of listening and talking with the homeowner at that point. I have, certain things that, there's a lot of psychology and stuff involved with that as well, kind of trying to read people. And then I'll determine at that point if it's worth a full-scale investigation. And there's been times that I've gone in and there was one in particular that I went into and had nonstop activity just while I was in during the interview process, and ended up doing a spirit box session, as well as finding out that she had some jewelry that she had brought back from Ireland, and even got an Irish voice come over the spirit box, which was crazy, for just a short, it was probably a 20-minute interview, and then ended up going back and doing a full-scale investigation at that point. and then, then going through the evidence, analyzing, and then presenting that to the homeowner.
Have you ever dealt with poltergeists?
On a couple occasions, not a whole lot, but I have had a couple occasions where I've had some poltergeist activity.
Tell us about it. We got about 90 seconds to 2 minutes here. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes.
Okay. There was. If people will go back and watch, it was a live session that I had. There's this house, it's called the House on Sunset Hill, and I cover that home in my season 1, episodes 3 and 4. And this house was off the chain. It had everything from disembodied voices to a shadow figures, apparitions, as well as I'm trying to think on the poltergeist activity we had, without really giving anything away, but it was to the point it was closing doors on us. We were able to catch some of that on video. If everyone will go back and watch season 1, they'll see what I'm talking about. And some of that is going to actually carry into season 2, just because this house has had so much activity. Interesting. What do the homeowners say? The homeowner, it was actually an abandoned home. She hadn't been in there in about 10 years. But the homeowner was actually, I didn't know everything that was going on. I was actually in this home to investigate a haunted relic. Like I said, it was kind of an accident that we ended up in there. But I was covering a story out of Charleston, Tennessee, about a phantom monk who had been skinned in a bathtub by a doctor after he had passed away in a train wreck. And this homeowner had the alleged tub. And so we were in the home investigating that in episode 2. And we were getting so much activity while we were trying to film that from the house that we didn't know if the activity was coming from the home or if it was coming from the tub. And so after we filmed, I was able to call the homeowner and speak with her and find out that while she had been living inside that home, there had been a lot of activity and some things had happened that had maybe brought this activity on. And so we ended up asking if we could actually investigate the home. I just had enough equipment to investigate the tub. So we did a small investigation, got a ton of Class A EVPs, and Josh was touched, which was a personal experience, but had a lot of activity. So we actually came back with a bunch of equipment and another investigator. Okay. Yeah, and Miranda, so that led into the other episodes.
I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Miranda Young, the ghost biker, continues with her paranormal haunting experiences. More stories from Miranda right after this on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 2. We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other: Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today. The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us in. I am your host, Dave Scott, and we're having a great time tonight. Thank you for joining us. We want to welcome back everyone listening in on KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. We're on in Ridgecrest, California, KZFX 93.7 FM, WQEE 99.1 FM in Newnan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. Great to have you with us. Don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Severine. Severine is your password. Yeah, use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. You can fill out a Sightlines report if you've had something strange happen. And, of course, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. And there's more coming soon. I'm excited about it. You should be, too. We're talking to the ghost biker tonight. Yeah, she rides a Harley. Yeah. She's out hunting ghosts, legends, lore of the communities in and around Tennessee and elsewhere. We have Miranda Young on the show tonight. Miranda, thank you so much for coming back.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
I want to know about your most interesting case that really, really messed with you a little bit. There's always one.
Well, that would be what I was just speaking about, the house on Sunset Hill. That has been an open case for probably the last year and 2 months. And, I normally don't get creeped out or, I take that back. Every now and then I'll get creeped out, but I don't really get scared or nervous on any of these investigations, but that one really threw me for a ringer because there was so much activity and such a variety of activity at that. The entities that were in this home, a lot of the time whenever I go into a location, when you pull the camera out or get the recorder out, a lot of the times it things don't want to interact, or they'll kind of shut down until either they start to feel, more comfortable with you, or unless you say something that kind of triggers activity. But what's in this home loves attention. And I tried different techniques with this, and because it is an open case and I was going in there so often, one of the things that I did was I put a call out, because people were always asking me about this location every time they would see me, since it was featured on the show. They would ask kind of what the status is and if they're going to get closure on this. And so what I did was I did a call out on Facebook asking folks to send in questions that they had. And one of the experiments that I was going to do was record those questions onto a recorder and set up static cameras in the home and play another recorder with record the questions and record the activity on multiple recorders. And so the live was only supposed to be about 15 minutes. Was going to do a live where folks could call or could come onto Facebook, and they could tell me where to put these cameras and the questions that I'd recorded. I had also had the homeowner who had a connection to one of the spirits. I had her record some questions that she wanted, because, as I'd said earlier, she doesn't go in this home. And so we went on to this live, and what was supposed to be 15 minutes turned out to be, I think, about a 2-hour live, and it was just activity nonstop. And people were starting to have activities inside their homes while this was going on. People were starting to get very concerned for myself and Josh because of the different activity that was happening. It was just totally off the chain, and people had, it was probably the most watched, most shared live that I've ever done, and that a lot of folks that were following, they hadn't experienced a live like this. In fact, I think it's still being shared quite a bit. But anyways, after the camera went off of the live, we still kept our camera rolling because I still had to go and hook up the cameras and get all that started. And as soon as I got those started and started the recorder, the ground beneath me started shaking. I've never had anything like that happen before. The ground was shaking, and all the flashlights, my EDI box, my REM pod, everything started going off all at one time. And what was in there kept trying to distract me so that I wouldn't leave. It was doing it during the live, and it was doing it after the live was off. Josh had to actually kind of keep me on task, because I would get ready to leave, something would happen, and I would want to stand and watch. And so I just remember we left the house, and we're standing outside, and we did this. We always do a prayer of protection when we go into a location, and then whenever we leave. And after we said that prayer of protection, I looked up, and this is an image that will always be burned in my brain, but you could just see the lights flashing in that house. There was no power, but you could see the flashlights flashing and the glow of the EDI and the REM pod through the windows. And it was just as that recorder was going off. And so left that on overnight and went back the next night. And we both, Josh and I, were very nervous and concerned about going back into that home that evening. And that's the first time I've ever experienced a feeling of dread or uneasiness about going into a location after experiencing that the day before. And so we had this, we decided we were going to go in and not acknowledge it and not pay any attention. And so we went in, and you could just feel, it was almost like an angry energy, a upset energy, if you will. And it did everything it could to try to get us to interact, everything from, pulling hair to pinching to closing doors, just to try to get us to acknowledge as we were in there packing up the cameras. And we, regardless of how bad we wanted to, neither of us would interact with it. And that's just a small example of some of the things we've experienced in that home. We will be covering how this has been an open case in season 2. But that probably has to be the most intriguing and unsettling one that I have ever experienced. And it was really, I was going there so much trying to figure out what was going on, because I really sort of had the opportunity to go anytime I wanted to. And so that, you really almost sort of start to get a connection with the spirits that are in that house. And it almost sort of started to become an obsession, if you will, with trying to figure out what's going on and trying to see how it will interact.
Do you feel pulled to that location? Do you feel like it's not done with you?
I had got to the point to where every time that I would go in, it knew me by name. Throughout my research there, we found there to be at least 5 spirits. And there was a pull, especially when it came to, I would say when I was away from it, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that. But then it's like I would sit there and just start thinking about different techniques and different experiments to try. And just couldn't get it off my mind. And then I would notice when I would watch the cameras that I had set up, I had a total of 4 cameras that I had put in there that were ran off battery power. And I had probably about 18 hours on each camera. And I could tell that when I would watch it, it would affect me and how I would feel about what I was seeing. It was almost like there was I don't know. I even was to the point I wanted to sleep in there and see what type of activity I could get from sleeping in there. So, it became a pull and almost an obsession.
Was the spirit calling you? When you were away from when you were away from the location?
I guess it probably was. I didn't. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I didn't feel like, I guess maybe on a subconscious level, that's probably what was happening, or subconscious to me. It may have been. Yeah.
It's freaky when that happens, because you don't know if you're becoming addicted to it because there's so much happening there, or if it's actually the spirit that is contacting you and calling you out, wanting to be there. I often bring up this similar case with a gentleman who we've had on this show before named Nelson Dellis, who's almost died twice on Mount Everest trying to peak to the summit. And he tells me, like, he's home in Florida, and at night he'll hear the mountain calling his name when he's at home.
I can believe that.
And it's very paranormal the way that happens, because in his subconscious, he knows that he has to do it. He has to go back. And he's like, the spiritual feeling you get when you are there is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost a high in a way, or a euphoric type feeling. I know there was even times, I'm a big meditator, and there were times when I would be meditating where I would, and I'm a planner as well, and so my meditation was almost becoming a planning type session with how I would play out these investigations I was going to do in my mind. And I guess in a way it almost became a form of like a astral projection, if you will, in a way, with that location, where I would almost get so deep into a meditation or a meditative state where I would be in that house, and that's not good, so I do feel like it would call, and I would just have to run those tests, do those experiments.
In other cases that you were dealing with, what is the difference between investigating somebody's home or business where people are residing comparatively to doing an abandoned building or other haunted locations that you were investigating while out riding as the ghost biker?
What's the difference, you say?
Yes.
For me, most of the time, if it's a home, I've been contacted because somebody is either wanting help or wanting some type of confirmation as to what's going on. That usually tends to be the difference between the business and the residential versus the abandoned. Usually the abandoned comes from, I get contacted a lot to go to different places. Some of them, some of them will check out because they've got this really cool story that I'm wanting to tell. Other times, if it's just somewhere that I'm researching, come across a place that's got just a great story, usually those will become episodes. The homes and the businesses won't necessarily be an episode if the family, it depends on the family's discretion and also what the story is. If it's kind of more of a private help sort of case, if you will. Now, sometimes people are okay with putting that onto a show, onto an episode, because they either want their story told or it's interesting enough. Usually that tends to be the difference. Whether usually I'm either contacted or it's somewhere that I'm going, just to try to tell that interesting story and figure out if there is actually activity there, if that makes sense.
Miranda Young, the Ghost Biker, is our guest tonight. Her YouTube channel, Ghost Biker Explorations, if you want to check it on out. Tell us about the Ghosts on the Tracks.
The Ghost on the Tracks is probably my favorite episode and one of my favorite cases. The Ghost on the Tracks takes place in a small community of Charleston, Tennessee. And Charleston is very cool because there are a lot of different activities that have happened there. Everything from Civil War activity to the Trail of Tears. That was the Fort Cass. That's where the Trail of Tears started, was there in Charleston. But and so I was getting a lot of activity from some of these other events that had occurred there. But the reason I was there was back in the late 1860s, there was a great flood that affected Charleston, Cleveland, and the Chattanooga areas. And it caused a train wreck up in the Charleston area. And during that train wreck, there was a doctor who had cared for, he had worked nonstop for a couple days rescuing and taking care of folks from this train wreck. And so being a small town and the fact that it only had a doctor's office, a lot of the homes were used to care for the injured. And the depot was actually set up as a makeshift morgue because there were a lot of people that perished. So the way the story goes is that there was a monk who was on the train wreck or the train crash, and he had perished. The doctor supposedly took his body and took it to his house and stripped it down to the bones in this tub. And back at the time, a doctor's office wasn't really considered a doctor's office if it didn't have a skeleton hanging in it. And so after this train crash or train wreck had occurred, the doctor, he took a sabbatical because, he had spent so much time working, with the victims. And when he came back to the office, he had a skeleton hanging in his office. And so there started getting a lot of activity in that doctor's office. And after he retired, another doctor had taken over, and he was often seeing apparitions, shadow figures, and he was hearing like a clicking sound, which they believed to be the sound of beads from a rosary. And so when the doctor's office was torn down in the 1930s, it was said that they had found a rosary and a monk's garb hidden in the wall. Now, a lot of this stuff, like I said, could be just local, legend and everything. And most of the people in Charleston has known this story. But the legend goes that you will sometimes hear a phantom train on the train tracks. You will also possibly see a figure walking on the train tracks. And so what we did was we went to where we had found that this train wreck had occurred, and used a spirit box, used the rods. We also made sure we went around the time that the accident had occurred, and we also went on a stormy night. And some of the evidence that we got on, I was never a big believer in the spirit box, but some of the evidence that we got coming across the spirit box, I felt was pretty compelling, which can be seen there on the episode. But we got things ranging from, we got words and comments that could have definitely come from a train wreck. It could have also we did address the Trail of Tears and Fort Cass, and we got words that were associated with that as well. And then we happened to come into contact with the lady who had purchased the alleged tub in an estate sale from the doctor's family. And so that's how we ended up getting into the house on Sunset Hill. Was the tub was stored in this house along with some other belongings that the homeowner had in there. And so we were actually able to investigate this, and we caught a figure, or what looks like a figure, looking in the window. And that was actually kind of a happy accident, because normally when we're going through these episodes and, filming them, we don't, we've got bad takes while we're shooting. And so a lot of the time I might watch some of that just to see if anything happens on those, on the video or on the audio. But we just happened to go back and was watching and just happened to notice this face, or what appears to look like a face in the window. Yeah.
Really? Miranda,
so
I'm going to get you to finish this story when we come back from the break. Miranda Young, the ghost biker, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue with this creepy story right after this on the Mighty SOR. We're bringing you something new to the documentary world. Beyond the Spectrum will take you on an historic tour of topics like no other: Sasquatch, UFOs, government secrecy, and more, keeping you on the edge of your seats through the eyes of legendary truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Richard Dolan, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and Jack Kasher. Head on over to Amazon Prime or Tubi TV and check us out. Please leave a comment for the filmmakers on their film's Amazon page.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com. Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology: Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Finish off your weekend and kick off your new week with me, Everett Themer, right here on Spaced Out Sundays. I'm going to bring you great guests, a little bit of snark, and plenty of information to think about. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of woo as well. We are going to hit everything in the paranormal and supernatural, including the odd psychic Sundays. So tune us in on Sunday, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you from SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind all of you that all of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Go ahead and rock out to Bumblefoot. Listen to or fill out an SOR Sightlines report if you've had something interesting happen, or read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. We got much more coming very, very soon. Tonight we are talking with the Ghost Rider Expeditions. If you want to check out our YouTube channel, we got Miranda Young with us. And right before the break, Miranda, you were telling us this story about the ghost on the tracks and how it kind of led you down several different paths.
It did, yeah. That's why I really enjoyed this investigation, because I was able to investigate at the actual train wreck site as well as in this home. And while we were there in the home, as I'd said before the break, we caught what looked like an apparition looking through the window. I have that video up on my website, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And I think there's some still shots on there. But that was really, the whole thing was really just a happy accident, because we just happened to find that as we were going back and reviewing bad outtakes. Just happened to see that a person had actually walked by. It was about midnight or 1 o'clock. When we were recording, and a person had walked by, and I was actually going back to look to see where that person had walked by. I saw them walk by, and then I was actually filming the intro for the episode, and that's when we happened to see the face in the window. And so, as I had said before, we just kept getting so much activity upstairs. We took and put a recorder upstairs as well as the REM pod, and it's like every time we would sit down and start to film this intro, the REM pod would start going off. Every time that we would quit paying attention to what was going on with the house, it would do something to try to get our attention. We would either hear the sounds of something being dragged across the floor upstairs, knocks and bangs, and then also the REM pod going off. So really that episode, The Ghost on the Tracks, led to the House on Sunset Hill and the Five Spirits episode. And I think that's probably why that's my favorite one, because it did lead to down so many different paths.
Well, this one seems a little odd. What about Behind the Screams?
Behind the Screams is a little... Oh, go ahead.
The Bleeding Mausoleum.
Yeah, Behind the Screams was a little something extra that we added to the episodes. So the episodes would release every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time throughout the month of October. And so just to make the season have more content, I wanted to add these they were little short segments called Behind the Screams. And, you know, the reason I did this was a lot of the people who follow the show are not necessarily paranormal investigators. My demographic, because I am a biker and because I am just super interested in history and cover a lot of history in the episodes, my demographic tends to be bikers, history buffs, and paranormal investigators. The paranormal investigators are probably actually the smallest demographic of the people who watch the show. And we found that there are a lot of people who weren't necessarily interested in the paranormal that are interested in the show because we do cover so much history, and that really pulls them in. So I created Behind the Screams to kind of tell a little bit about the different pieces of equipment that I used in each episode.
That's kind of fun. What about when you were going through these? How do you choose your investigative material? What keeps you going? What makes you choose the stories?
Well, you know, I like a good tragic story. And, you know, and it makes for, you know, and there's a lot of that out there in history. And so what I look for is a story that is investigatable. I don't know if that's a word. But I look for a story that will have enough content to be able to create a good episode, and then also carry the episode just in case I don't get anything during the investigation. And then also the town and the location that it's in also plays a big part, because I am a biker and enjoy travel. I like to tell about these cities and tell about some kind of interesting fact that people might not know. And so to try to encourage people to go and visit that location, because most of the time they are a small town that a lot of people haven't heard of. So when I'm looking at a place to try to decide if it's going to make an episode, I look at the location that it's in, i.e. the city. I look at the story to see if it's something that is interesting enough that people will either sit back and say, I didn't know about that. I want to look into that further. Or maybe, you know, they had heard part of it but didn't know the whole story. And then also if it's investigatable.
So when you're going through these town legends, how do you get tipped off to them? And what sparks your interest?
Sometimes I'll just pick a town and look and, you know, kind of see if there's an interesting story there. Other times people will actually contact me and tell me, you know, about, you know, hey, there's this bridge, or there's this story about somebody that, you know, this event happened to, or this location where all this crazy stuff happened. A lot of the time it comes from people saying, hey, you really ought to check this out. And so then that kind of leads down the rabbit hole. Either, you know, one of the best places that I've found are the local archives of that city. The internet, you know, I do look online to see what I can find, but most of the time I'm looking, you know, you can't, you know, we all believe everything we see online. You know, so a lot of the time I'll go online to actually look for books about what I'm researching. And sometimes I'm able to find stuff. Sometimes it's such an obscure story that there's not a lot of info on it. So, but I get a lot of stuff from these books, you know, like for instance, the Mausoleum and the Ghost on the Tracks came from a book called 13 Ghosts and not Jefferson. I think it's 13 Ghosts in Jefferson. and it was about ghost stories here in Tennessee. And so I get a lot of information from that, just local books.
What do the townspeople say when you're in there investigating about their weird legends? Because a lot of towns like to keep that stuff quiet.
They do, and a lot of times they won't know until I've gone in and investigated. Like with the mausoleum, we kept that quiet, but it's since generated a whole lot of buzz since then. It just depends. From what I've been doing so far, people seem to really like it. They want to get that story out there, and they've been real welcoming, because we do try to shine a positive light on the city itself, which really helps for tourism and recognition of the town. You know, a lot of people in Cleveland didn't know that Cleveland is actually being called the Halloween, I'm drawing a blank, the Halloween World Headquarters, I believe, because so many people come to the block party there. It's like 10,000 people. You know, when you think of Halloween and that sort of thing, you really think of Salem or New Orleans, some of those larger towns. But we try to put a positive spin and put some stuff out there about the community that a lot of people don't know.
So what you're saying is this community is the reason why Walmart puts out their stuff way before Halloween for Christmas.
Exactly.
Oh. I'm never traveling there now. Never. Let's talk about the mausoleum, because just the name will put an eerie feeling into many people who've investigated or like a good ghost story. What's walking around there?
Well, the Bleeding Mausoleum is the story of the Craigmiles family. The Craigmiles family was a very prominent family in Cleveland, Tennessee, and he was a very prominent businessman that in the mid to late 1800s that brought a lot of industry into the town of Cleveland. And I won't go into all the details because I hope folks will watch the episode. But basically, the short version is that they had a little family, and they had a little girl named Nina. And when she was 7, and, you know, because they were so prominent in the community, all the townspeople knew Nina and that family. And so Nina would often go on house calls with her grandfather, Dr. Thompson, whenever he would go making house calls in his horse and buggy. And so on one particular day in October, I believe it was October 18th, they were out on house calls, and they came to the train crossing, and something spooked the horse. From the research I did, I think it was a stormy evening. It spooked the horse, and the horse took off across the train track, and the train ends up hitting the horse-drawn carriage. And it throws the doctor and Nina from the carriage, and Nina is actually crushed by the cow catcher on the engine. Her grandfather, he survives, but Nina is killed. And so her father, being just very distraught, 3 years to the day, he ends up building, he built St. Luke's Church, which she had passed away on St. Luke's Day. And so he ends up building St. Luke's Episcopal Church, and he has the mausoleum constructed in behind for Nina. And so a few years, and it's made out, I mean, it's this really cool structure made out of Carrara marble. And it's really something really cool to see for itself. But so he has this constructed for Nina. A few years later, they have another baby, and the baby ends up passing away only hours after it's born. So the baby's put in the mausoleum as well. Yeah, and then not long after that, a few years after, he ends up slipping on an icy street, getting blood poisoning and passing away. He's in the mausoleum after that. And then it was sometime, I think it was in the 1920s, Nina's mother ends up, she was out with a friend, and she goes into, her friend goes in to get something out of the house, and she ends up getting hit by, Nina's mother ends up getting hit by a car and passing away. And so the legend goes, now the mausoleum has got these red stains on it. Now, you know, marble can, especially Carrara marble, it has impurities in it that can cause it to react with the weather and cause it to change colors. But there are these big red spots that show up on the mausoleum. And the story from the townsfolk is that after each family member died, there were more red spots that showed up on this mausoleum, and they supposedly replaced those spots, those places on the mausoleum, but it would come back, and it would come back darker. And so it bleeds when it rains. And so we were actually able to go over there whenever it was raining, and the red just kind of pools up and looks like, puddled blood on the side of the mausoleum. So it got the reputation of being the Bleeding Mausoleum. And so we were able to go and do a small scale investigation as much as you could, at a small church mausoleum. But got some pretty cool results. And something that's actually an interesting fact that I found out through my research was that they were going to put a bust of Nina in the back of the church. And the bust was actually, they had it made in Italy, and it actually ended up sinking on the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it just
interesting.
Yeah, just a real tragic story of this family who was very, very prominent, but all died tragic deaths. And again, most of the people didn't know, they didn't know the whole story behind all this. And they knew about Nina, but they didn't really know all of what had happened to her family.
Was the family cursed?
I don't know. I didn't find anything that gave that impression, but one would kind of think from what had happened that it could be a possibility.
Yeah, that's definitely not having any luck whatsoever, is it?
No, not at all. And what was interesting was just how how rich this family was, and he had made his money in the shipping industry, and then during the Civil War with selling food to the troops. It was just kind of interesting to see how all this came about. And there's buildings in Cleveland named after the Cragmiles family. The archive, the historical archive there is named after, I think it was the home where Mr. Cragmile's brother had lived. It's just really interesting how all this kind of came about, and then the story that surrounds it.
Miranda Young is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking about an interesting story at a mausoleum. Now, that blood, those drops that keep coming back darker and darker each time they're pressure washed or it rains or whatever, has those ever been tested to see if they are blood or just something bleeding through? Pardon the pun.
Not to my knowledge. For what I figure in the research is, I think, now I may be wrong, and I don't want to misspeak, but I think the Carrara marble maybe has a lot of iron in it, which can change the color to that red color. Personally, I believe that it's I don't know if impurity is the right word in the marble, but I think it's probably reacting with the weather, but it's just interesting, I guess, the symbolism, that it happens after, that it happened after each one had passed on, that it just grew, darker, and that they had taken the pieces and replaced the pieces, and it would just still come back. And it's not all over. If you would think if it was just full of iron or some type of rock that's going to change colors, you would think it would be all over and all the time, but it's only in certain spots, and we've shown it in the video how it looks whenever it rains. It's pretty crazy.
Are there any surviving members of that family now that have gone through similar circumstances?
Not that I'm aware of. I saw some writing online where there were some family members. There are some descendants that were still around, but I'm not aware of anything tragic, that had gone on after that family. To my understanding, the aunt that lived in the home where the library and archive is now, I think she lived to a very old age.
I gotta ask you, in regards to this family, had anybody worked with them? Any psychics? Any history of paranormal outside of the deaths?
I am not aware if they had. That's actually a great question and something to research further. I have some connections that could probably help get some answers on that. That is definitely a good question that I'll look into.
Oh, wow. We only got about a minute here before we got to go to break, maybe 2 minutes before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. And I want to just get to Joe's question here, because he has been waiting a while for this one. I just kind of accidentally put it off. Joe is asking, a little bit off topic here, have you ever ridden your bike into a building that you're going to investigate in the hopes of waking up the ghosts? If so, have there been results?
That is actually a great question. I was actually going to. I was going to investigate a dam here in East Tennessee, known as Hell's Bar Dam. And I know it's been on some of the, some of the paranormal entertainment shows. I think maybe it was on Ghost Adventures, maybe even Ghost Hunters. But I was actually going to do that, and I was going to film an episode there, and they ended up closing down briefly, and I didn't get to do that. But we had talked about riding the motorcycle into the dam, into the powerhouse, and seeing what might happen. But we did not get to do that. I'm hoping that I will be able to have that opportunity. I ride to pretty much everywhere I go. I just haven't had a big enough location to be able to ride the bike into.
Oh, you have to try that out.
I think that is definitely a must try.
It would make your show that much more badass doing that,
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way you start off. That's got to be like near your intro right off the beginning.
That was going to be the intro on that episode that we were going to do. We were going to film riding it through. Nothing would be more badass than riding through a dam.
You got that right. You got that right. With these episodes that you are creating, what's the response been from the public so far? So we got about a minute to go.
It's actually been very positive. It's been very positive. People have really enjoyed the history of it. They've really enjoyed what we're doing and the fact that it is different. I've actually been overwhelmed with how positive.
Excellent. We got you for another 30 minutes. Miranda Young, our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, the Ghost Biker. Let's see what else she's exploring in the paranormal when we come back in Hour 3.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been
THAL brand, accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Get a little bit of a program for you.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark, and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and Bigfoot in the forest. Truth seekers like Steve Bassett, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Richard Dolan, as well as others all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Hi to everyone listening in on KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon. And also down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. WQEE 99.1 FM. On the digital side, we are on Revolution Radio and Kingdom of Nye Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Saparine. Saparine is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam has set the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. It's updated daily. If you've had a weird sighting you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. It's right there for you. For the final time tonight, we introduce Miranda Young. She is the ghost biker out of Tennessee, riding her Harley to all the haunted places that she could get to, discovering the legends, the lore, and the ghosts that walk about. There we go. Miranda, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
Are you one of those people who takes the investigation to the extreme, going in to provoke a little bit, rough things up a little bit, flash your leather pants, and, of course, maybe even stay the night in some of these haunted locations to see what happens while you're asleep?
I've been known to do a few different methods. I don't do a whole lot of provoking. It always depends on the situation. I go to I have investigated a lot of jails and prisons, which sometimes, will I don't want to say provoking, but maybe take more of an aggressive approach, just because either I'm trying to approach from a more prison guard kind of standpoint, or depending on what I'm trying to do as far as triggering. But I do definitely, one of the things I do like to do is I will sleep in these locations if I'm there for any extended amount of time, especially if I've ridden my bike and have to travel back the next day. Actually, sleeping in these locations is one of my favorite things to do. I'll investigate, and then if I can get a couple hours of sleep, I kind of consider it a freebie, if you will. You can put the recorders out and still investigate while being able to get some rest. But I also feel like it really puts you in one of the most vulnerable states. And I have had some of my best activity happen while I'm sleeping.
What goes on at night?
Well, one in particular was, actually there's two that comes to mind. One of them was I stayed at Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and that was a pretty neat experience that I had there. I put recorders at the nurse's station. I always have a mobile recorder on me, regardless of what I'm doing, that's going all the time. But I will drop these static recorders in different locations, and I had put some on the different levels as well as at the nurse's station. And while I was sleeping, I had a recorder outside in the hall, and I just happened to, it was probably around 5:30 in the morning, just happened to catch what sounded like a woman wailing in the hall. And she was clearly distraught. She was wailing. It was just myself and another guy who was, and the guy was a police officer. We were staying in the hospital there, and we caught her saying what sounded like, "Please let me see him." And to me, sounded like maybe somebody whose loved one had been either injured or killed, or maybe during surgery or whatever, and they were wanting to see their loved one. Again, we were the only two in the location, and I was sleeping in, we were both sleeping in one of the rooms. They had these old mattresses in there. And then the other location where I had some pretty incredible stuff happen while I was sleeping was at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. And that's also in East Tennessee. Now, I just want to say I travel all over. I'm home based here in Tennessee, but being on the bike, I travel all over the United States. But these two locations just happen to be here in Tennessee. And I slept in an area that they call the Hole. It's solitary confinement that had 4 different cells in there, pitch black, very inhumane, that supposedly they had quit using, I believe, in the 60s. But I think it had gone on up into maybe the 80s when they actually quit using those cells. But I slept in there and put a recorder, had a video camera, and I had a recorder. And I'm actually going to be releasing this during season 2. So I hope you guys will check that out. But I slept for right around 3 hours in solitary confinement. And what you got to understand, this whole prison, it was myself as well as 2 other ladies who were in this entire prison complex. And the Hole is in a total separate building than the rest. The other 2 ladies were sleeping at this base camp that they had set up in the main quarters there. But I was off by myself. I caught some of the most incredible footsteps. I think it averaged out to around 3 minutes and 30 seconds of activity over this 3-hour period. Everything from, some of the best, probably the best Class A EVPs that I've ever caught, to footsteps, heavy footsteps, to residual activity the hole was right under the laundry room area. And, there was no power in this location, period. And we had you could hear what sounded like dryers. The dryer doors have a distinct sound. And you could hear the dryer door slamming and what sounded like the dryer actually running. And at the time, I didn't even know that the laundry room was upstairs from where I was. So yeah, that was probably one of the most incredible. And actually, once I sat down and started listening to it, I don't know if I would want to sleep in there again after hearing some of the stuff I heard, which, like I said, I will be releasing that on season 2, which is going to be airing every Tuesday during the month of October coming up. And, it was one of those things where, I went back and I listened to what I had captured and was really just, I was out of it. The thing that I was worried about the most in sleeping there in solitary confinement is the fact that they have a lot of rattlesnakes there at that prison. And I just remember, when we were walking through earlier, there was a grate there in the main area as you go into the hole. And, excuse me, and there were bird bones there inside that grate. And I remember the other girl that was there with me making the comment, the rattlesnakes have been eating pretty good because there's these bird bones down there. And so I remember when I got into my sleeping bag, it was literally this metal bunk bed. There was no mattress there, just wide enough for me. And I'm very tall, but not too terribly wide, but it was very tight for me. And I had a sleeping bag, and I just remember taking my boots off and laying there. And my biggest worry at the moment was I need to check my boots and make sure that no rattlesnakes have crawled in. And then after I heard what I caught, the rattlesnakes were probably the least of my worries.
Brushy Mountain. I remember watching the old, prison television shows on MSNBC. And this was right before Brushy Mountain closed. That location with the giant brick walls and in that remote area, I believe the prison was built in the mid-1800s. There was a lot of death there. They had the death penalty going, excuse me, right until they pretty much shut the doors of that place.
They did. They never actually executed anybody there, but there's, up to 400 men that died there on the property, and it was either from disease at the hands of other inmates or at the hands of guards. And, what they did, it was created as a coal mining camp, really, because Tennessee used to lease prisoners out as coal miners. And so what they would do is there was a fight, skirmishes broke out between the coal miners and the prisoners, because coal miners were losing their jobs because of the prisoner leasing. And so that's actually how Brushy was created. And so the prisoners had to go and work in the mines. And so a lot of if the prisoners didn't meet their quota, they were beat by the guards, and they had to get that day's quota and the next day's quota. And then also there was a lot of mining accidents that happened. It was just very, very rough. It was called Into the Line for a reason. And what's really crazy about this is, so I graduated high school in 98, and one of the things that our high school did, I grew up about 30 minutes from Brushy Mountain, and our high school would go on field trips to the prison every year. And my class they quit doing it in 99. The prison shut down in 2009. but I can remember going on a field trip to the prison, and that was a crazy experience. So we went and we actually heard one of the prisoners telling stories. They pull this prisoner out. His nickname was Snake, and he was in there for killing his in-laws by setting their bed on fire. And I remember these, being a group of about 10 high school students standing there, and these guards coming out in their, they were in full armor, with their shields and stuff. And we're just standing there as typical high school students. They bring this guy out, and he talks to us. And then afterwards, we were actually supposed to eat in the cafeteria, and they had a fight break out. So we ended up going to a local restaurant and eating. But what's crazy is going into this place now and investigating, and that prison, the cafeteria where we were going to eat, they had so many things happen in there. One of the stories of one of the guys that haunts the location, this guy was hacked up with a meat cleaver. He was in there cooking. Yeah, just violent stories. And that happened obviously before we went, but it was just really crazy to go there as a high schooler and see this prison functioning, and then to be able to go back. I've investigated the prison 5 times now, and it's just very, it's very surreal to go in there and be able to investigate where all of this has happened. That's where James Earl Ray was housed and where he actually escaped from.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That place has such a weird history. And, you look at places like Alcatraz or places like that, they seem to get all of the press and the publicity. But Brushy Mountain, there were some pretty evil doings there, for sure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It was the worst of the worst.
What kind of ghost activity are you getting there? Are you getting just prisoners? Are you getting former guards? Because, the amount of energy has to be crazy there.
Yeah, that place is absolutely off the chain, and really one of my favorite places to investigate. I got everything from prisoners to guards. There was a guard killed another guard, if I'm not mistaken. It was over a political fight, and he just pulled out his weapon and shot him in the head in the guard tower. But I got everything from prisoners to guards to minors to actually women. I've caught a female and a child in that location. And of course, sometimes, I'm always leery when I catch a child, because you never know if it's something kind of trying to portray itself as a child, or if it's an actual child. But there is a ton of Native American activity in that location. And one of the experiences, I saw my first shadow figure and apparition. I have not seen many, but there was 9 of us there in this room. It was an Easter weekend one year, and they had invited several of us teams to come and investigate. And there was 9 people in the room. We've been playing some Native American music and had the flashlights going. And the only way I can describe it, it kind of looked like a little tornado kind of come off the ground. And the flashlight was on, and you see this head and shoulders appear in the shadow there of the flashlight. And this figure strolls across the room. I have never seen anything like it, and none of us saw it. And what was crazy is everyone had just turned their cameras off. We had been doing a live, and everyone just turned the cameras off, which, go figure, seems to be how it happens. But what's crazy cool about the whole thing is 3 of us had recorders, and we were kind of sitting in this triangle shape. And and so we were able to kind of triangulate where the voice was coming from. But just before it happened, the flashlight turns on, and we're asking about the flashlight. And again, we've been playing Native American music, and we get this crazy cool voice that says, "Watch this." And you could hear it between myself and one of the other ladies. And then on the other recorder, it was sounded further off. So we could tell it was between myself and another lady. And you hear, "Watch this." And then you hear everyone go crazy because we all see it show itself. And that was one of the strangest experiences I think I've ever had, as far as actually seeing, because I had never seen an actual shadow figure. And this thing, you could tell it had some kind of power, because to actually be able to manifest and cast a shadow from the flashlight and actually stroll across the room. I mean, you could see it moving. It was insane.
We only have about 3.5 minutes until we got to say goodnight to you. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on. Tell us about season 2 coming up.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. Yes, season 2 is going to drop on October 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And you'll be able to watch that every Tuesday. We're going to have a new episode every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to drop on YouTube, Facebook, and on my website, www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. Like I said, I'm most active on Facebook because I can go back and, talk to everybody. I'm very active on there. But we will have that. Some of these investigations or these episodes, they're going to be like season 1. So I encourage everybody to go and catch up. You can binge watch these because I try to keep the episodes short. They range anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. I don't want to make it intimidating for people to be able to sit down and watch. So you can catch up on the 5 episodes and some of the lives that I've done before season 2 drops. We're having a huge party on this coming Saturday for any of you folks that are in the Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky area. White Lightning Harley Davidson in Chattanooga, Tennessee is hosting a red carpet event for me, and we are going to release episode 1 of season 2 before everyone else can see it on this Saturday. And it will run from 11 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll be showing episode 1 at 1 p.m. and people will be able to check that out beforehand. And then just catch all the other episodes throughout the month of October.
That sounds like so much fun. And, inviting all of our listeners down to join you, that always works as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a lot going on, and I've got several different appearances that's coming up through the month of October. I've got all of those listed on the website. And we've got some really cool and exciting things that's going to be coming up next year, including some different motorcycle rides, showing some extended scenes because we have got so much from, this season. I mean, we just got so much that we couldn't fit it all in all the episodes. So there's going to be travel vlogs as well as extended releases that's going to be coming throughout the year after the season drops.
Do me a favor before we got to say goodnight. Give a shout out to your website, your YouTube channel, where people can find it.
Yes, everyone, please go onto Facebook and like my page, Ghost Biker Explorations, and keep in touch with me there. I'd love to keep in touch with you guys. My YouTube channel, Ghost Biker Explorations, as well as Instagram. I'm active on there under Runaway Vixen. You can also, I'm an avid motorcycle rider, but I draw the locations that I visit. So I've got artwork and photography on my website as well as the episodes at www.ghostbikerexplorations.com. And I'm also active on LinkedIn.
Perfect. I want to say thanks. What a fun show.
Yeah, thank you. I've had a blast.
Not a problem. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire, the thought of the day. Big thanks to Miranda Young coming on in, Ghost Biker extraordinaire. We continue right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
A little bit of science, a little bit of skepticism. Add a dash of snark and you have the makings of Spaced Out Sundays with me, Everett Thiemer. Together we will look into the reality of the paranormal with an open eye and rational thought. Oh, did I mention there'll be plenty of woo as well? Your time spent with Spaced Out Sundays will make the night even better. The chat rooms are open, 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you from the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Reminder, if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always go to our free YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we got a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Fill out a Sightlines report if you've had something strange or weird happen. And, of course, you can check out Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Speaking of the news, let's get to it, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the WTF, those head scratchers that we just can't put our finger on. We're going to start off here with a violent vegan. John Bird said that he and his girlfriend both went to the hospital after an incident with headaches and shortness of breath. Why? Well, let me tell you. There are a number of situations that just seem way too ridiculous at times, especially in today's day and age. You know, stuff like watching someone make an escape through a tunnel they just graffitied on the side of a building, or a shotgun blast that graces its target but does nothing other than sharply part its hair. Yeah. Well, how about this one? A Salt Lake City restaurant owner is in a little bit of hot water after deciding to put a stranger's cigarette out with a fire extinguisher. Yeah, John Bird had been volunteering for an event at the Gallivan Center in Salt Lake City when he stepped out for a smoke. Nothing wrong with that. And he says that he confirmed with the building security guard that it was okay to light up in that exact same spot. Oh, but, however, Bird quickly looked and learned that this wasn't the case. Yeah, he was confronted by a man in a striped sweater who carried a fire extinguisher outside with him. The man, later identified as local restaurateur Alex Jameson, told Bird and another man that they couldn't light up that close to his customer area. Two smokers said that they were 25 feet away from the outdoor seating in accordance with Utah law, but the vegan restaurateur disagreed strongly. He came out with energy of hostility, a fire extinguisher in his hands, and said, "I told you, you can't be here." Yeah, Bird says, "I'm still in shock and awe. I feel dizzy, kind of shaken up that something like this could actually happen. In the video of the altercation, which has been posted to Facebook, Bird's girlfriend asks if he's really going to spray him with fire extinguisher. Jameson responds, "I'm going to put that cigarette out." And when Bird puts his cigarette back in his mouth, Jameson blasts him in the face. Yeah. However, in the video, Bird does tell him to do it. In a statement, Jameson said that because he stands up for animal rights, he needs to apologize to Bird. "Well, I'll say that I'm not proud of my behavior. I'll let myself get egged on, and I overreacted. I'm a protective small business owner who has asked hundreds of people not to smoke near our patio in the interest of our customers and our neighbors' customers. I try to be respectful and generally always get good responses. I asked him multiple times during the day to please go to the designated smoking area, but he should not have reacted to feeling disrespected. I certainly owe the other person involved an apology as well, and I would like to make it right with him. However, I need to. I did not mean to cause him harm or any harm whatsoever. Our business is committed to fighting for animal rights, and this must include other people. I'm sorry." Jameson, a longtime vegan, owns veggie-friendly sandwich shop Bud's, the more upscale Bolt Cutter, and the vegan bakery and ice cream shop Monkey Wrench. "For me, it's not the restaurant industry or cooking I'm passionate about. It's sharing the vegan message," he says. "It's spreading the movement." You know, this is the type of guy when somebody's like having a medical episode on a plane, when you yell, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" He'll say, "I'm a vegan. I am a vegan." That's this kind of guy. This kind of guy. Don't smoke near his shop. You might get extinguished. I'm sure there's a lawsuit pending in there somewhere. Former boxer and legend at the sport, Carl Froch, believes the world is flat. Yeah, he may have been... I don't know, maybe a little punch drunk there. I'm not sure. Well, he has accused NASA of faking photos to convince the population into thinking the world is a sphere and are hiding the real truth. The Earth is flat 100%. There is no proof of the curvature, and this fake space agency NASA uses CGI images, and everyone is different, he says. I'm looking at these photos thinking, hang on a minute. They're like cartoons. When someone like Richard Branson goes up there and starts doing chartered flights, and you can look back on the Earth and see the Earth's curvature, I'll believe the Earth is a globe. Carl is in support of the genuine conspiracy theory, claiming the Earth being round was a lie peddled by Disney, despite the assertion of a spherical planet having been around since the ancient Greek era and having been the popular belief since Christopher Columbus' famed voyage in 1492. Yeah. The former world super middleweight champion isn't the only sportsman to throw doubt into the world being a sphere. Former England star Andrew Flitnoff has admitted he's convinced the world is flat as well, or at least bulbous like a turnip. Previously speaking on his own podcast, the former Wales soccer player, see there, it just answers it all. Another reason why not to like soccer, people. They also believe in flat Earth. Yeah. Anyways, Flitnoff on his podcast about soccer ignored all the satellite photos of Earth to suggest there was evidence to suggest the world was not round. Went on to say, if you're in a helicopter and you hover, why does the Earth not come to you if it's round? Why, if we're hurtling through space, why would water stay still? Why is it not wobbling? Also, if you fire a laser about 16 miles, if the world was curved, you shouldn't be able to see it, but you can. He added, the middle is the North Pole, or round. The outside is the South Pole, which is like a big wall of ice. This is why all governments now have bases on the South Pole. Well, if I needed something to completely solidify the idea of why I don't like soccer, this is it. That was the one. They're a bunch of flat earthers. Just keeps happening. Soccer keeps proving me right. All right. Get this. A painting found hanging in an elderly woman's home near Paris, France, is a long-lost masterpiece by Florentine artist Cimabue. Christ Mocked, part of a series of paintings from the late 13th century, was discovered at the property in the northern French town of Compiègne. it is thought to fetch up to $6.5 million at auction next month. The woman had it valued, believing it to be an old religious icon. Experts say there was no disputing its origin. Tests were carried out on the artwork using infrared light to determine the similarities with works by the Italian painter, also known as Seni di Pepeo. Yeah, the painting was done by the same hand, art expert Eric Turquin said. French newspaper Le Figaro reported this story first. It is believed to be a part of the polypic, a large work of painting scenes divided into several panels depicting Christ's passion and crucifixion dating back from 1280. Cimabuy's work was largely influenced by the Byzantine art produced on a popular wood panels with backgrounds of gold paint. Yeah. This is going to be a good one. Mr. Turkin says you could follow the tunnels made by worms, he said, referring to the tracks in the panel made by wood-eating larvae, similar to those found in other sections, thought to be part of the same Cimabue artwork. It's the same popular panel, he said. The painting, which the owner had hung above a hot plate in her kitchen, will be auctioned in France on October 27th. Two other scenes from the same Cimabue series can be seen at London's National Gallery and the Frick Collection in New York. I think that retired lady gets to retire a lot nicer now. Yeah. The Black Panther that was seen walking on the rooftops of France. Yeah. Well, it was captured. But here's the weird part. It's gone missing again. Yeah. They believe it's been stolen. Authorities say the panther, captured last week while wandering loose in the Armentières, was taken to the Maubeuge Zoo while awaiting transfer to a refuge for mistreated animals, but was discovered to be missing during a Tuesday morning inspection. Investigators say there was no damage to the enclosure, but the security system appeared to have been tampered with by apparent thieves. Veterinarians say the panther, believed to be between 5 and 6 months old, had been declawed before escaping from its owner's home through an open window last week. Police say they have identified the owner of the illegal pet, but the person has not been charged. Now they're looking for new suspects. Leave the cat alone already. It's a beautiful cat. Florida man looking very pleased with himself in his recent mugshot, despite being arrested for his 5th DUI last week after leading police on a very low-speed chase. Yeah, old Gordo Ormond, 56 years old, flashed his pearly whites. He does have nice teeth, by the way. I'm sure they're fake. Well, it's a bizarre-looking booking photo after he was eventually hauled in by cops for allegedly running a red light in Newport Richey in his white van. A deputy with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office tried to pull him over, but Ormond apparently did not stop. Ignoring the police sirens and emergency lights, he continued to drive between 15 and 35 miles an hour. At one point, he drove into a basketball hoop. Ormond was eventually thwarted when authorities used stop sticks. No word if he hit the three-pointer before he hit the basketball hoop. Investigators said Ormond claimed his license had been suspended, but when they checked the system, they reportedly noticed his license had been revoked since July 1991, and he had 4 previous DUI convictions to his name. Ormond was arrested for drinking under the influence, failing to submit a breath test, and fleeing the scene of a crash. Officials said the ordeal was Ormond's 12th arrest for driving with a suspended or revoked license. Guess he doesn't like Uber, does he? Nope. Not this guy. A driver on a Sydney road has become a viral star thanks to another traveler's video of him rolling down the street on an unusual vehicle, a motorized suitcase. Video captured from a car traveling on the road in North Kellyville, a suburb of Sydney, New South Wales, showed the man at the side of the road moving at a slow speed atop the motorized luggage. The man, who is wearing a bright orange helmet, really... Do you need a helmet to ride a piece of luggage? Do you really think that is going to break your fall? What are you doing, like 5 miles an hour, maybe 6? People. Well, this guy's a rebel anyways. The man who is wearing the bright orange helmet in the footage has not been identified, but he has become a viral hero on social media thanks to his unusual vehicle. The suitcase's driver intended destination was unclear. And we ended on a freaky note tonight. A wheelchair ominously began moving on its own in a government-owned hospital in northern India. Yeah, CCTV cameras apparently at the new building extension wing at a research center caught the unusual sight in the early hours. The wheelchair, which had been left parked, started rolling on its own towards the exit, even sliding down a ramp and out into the garden. The incident was witnessed by a security guard who later fetched the wheelchair and put it back. The footage sparked intense speculation among hospital staff that the wheelchair was moved by a ghost, which wanted to break out of the hospital. Many staff members reportedly became reluctant to work the night shift due to the alleged supernatural presence. A doctor at the hospital said the wheelchair had been pushed by a gust and it was parked in a partially uncovered area. It rolled onto the smooth floor and went out. It's just the wind and not any ghost, she said. Oh, just a heartbreaker. She must be related to Mr. Skeptic on Twitter. It must be. Manoj Kumar, who was part of a 3-member security team on duty at the time, said, "One of us had gone for the rounds and another was inside. I came out to drink water and saw the wheelchair moving on its own. It was just wind, nothing else. I was also feeling very, very cold." Well, that's the paranormal, my friend, because it's cold. Cold as ice. Needing to sacrifice our love. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Have you ever had a paranormal supernatural experience while driving? Catherine? Nope. I don't drive. Goddess Michelle? Yes. After asking to get Bill to communicate with my aunt last year, my radio was flicking stations and would turn itself on for 2 days that followed. I went into a store, came out. When I did, I sat down in the car to realize my aunt was sitting in the car with a message. Oh my goodness. Lone Wolf. Driving home from work late one night on US 127 South, heading out of Jackson, Michigan, the whole sky went from black to full daylight for about 5 seconds. There was no lightning storms in the area, no indication of a meteor. To this day, I have no real explanation. Chip. Well, maybe I shouldn't read this one. Oh, let's try it. I once drove a rental car that didn't smell like smoke, but when I was done, it magically did smell like someone smoked a carton of Virginia Slims in it. Seemed spooky to me. Chris. I was a passenger in the car. We were in Deadwood, South Dakota, which has a no-drone ordinance. It was 1 a.m., and the driver and I saw a green ball float across the sky and just disappeared. Ueno. I saw a meteor make a sharp 40-degree turn while driving west on an old Kansas highway at about 2 a.m. Also saw what appeared to be a military cargo plane with its forward light on hovering motionless, parallel to the road no more than 200 feet above the ground. 12 a.m. There were also many cars parked along the side of the road in that pasture that the plane was hovering above. Oddly, it never occurred to me to stop and investigate. I just kept driving, although I have a reason to doubt that I actually did keep driving. Ooh, eerie. Eerie. Romulan. Traversed 35 minutes worth of driving in 10 minutes with my buddy in the car. We have no explanation. Anon. Couple of friends and myself were in Texas at the time. We were at an old bridge that was infamous in the area for suicides and supposedly haunted, so we, being adventurous young lads, decided to do an investigation. We didn't see anything after about an hour and a half, so we decided to leave. We got into the car and sped down a Texas back road. It's 3 a.m. No traffic was on the road except us. Out of nowhere, literally, a set of headlights was on our bumper. I initially thought it was a police car to try and catch a back road speeder. Apparently it was not. Scary. Jamie. Think I ran over Bigfoot once. Or it could have been a rabbit. It was dark. Chris. I was driving on the freeway, coming back from the in-laws' house. Something in my rear-view mirror caught my eye. It was a head of a man with an old type hat on. Sounds like Michael W. Hall. I wasn't afraid, just caught off guard. The image stayed in my head. 2 weeks later, my husband Brent and I went back to his mom's house, and I recognized a pic in their hallway. It was him. When Brent's grandfather came to me in my car in the rearview mirror, I have no idea why it happened. Never met the man. He died way before I got married. Richard. I was driving downtown when a person stepped off the sidewalk in front of my car. Impossible to avoid him. After I slid past the impact point, I got out but couldn't find him. Other pedestrians had come over and were looking under my car as well. Very, very strange. Rennie. When going to Cripple Creek, Colorado on the Phantom Canyon Road, stopped so my ex could relieve himself, looked across the valley towards the mountains, and just above the ranges saw a very bright object that moved from the right and then just stopped. A beam projected from the object to the ground, lasting about a minute, then disappeared. The object then moved quickly straight up and disappeared. A month later, there was a TV program about animal mutilations throughout Colorado, and at the end, they announced that the cow and horse that was found mutilated near Cripple Creek on the night we were there. I was gobsmacked. Another was seeing a Bigfoot at the side of the road as we kept going over the Cascades to Washington, to Seattle, Washington. Did not stop. Just kept driving. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day today. We're going to do it all again tomorrow, so you can find it on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio or on our Facebook pages. We really appreciate reading your responses. Hope you have fun hearing them as well. We want to say a big thank you to Captain Shirk for getting all of our news together for the SOR Newswire. She does such a great job. Such a great job. That's why she's our captain, getting us ready each and every night. We appreciate that. And, of course, we say a big thank you to Miranda Young for telling us and sharing some ghost stories from her Ghost Biker series on YouTube, Ghost Biker Expeditions. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, in our chat rooms, on Revolution Radio, Spreaker, the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. Yes, even you, Uncle Dale, and your power stash. Of course, everybody on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, wherever you may be. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Hey, thanks for allowing me to return to the airwaves tonight. Thanks for letting me share these stories with you, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. See ya.